I'm Olivia, and I'm an educator here at the Wildlife Conservation Society's Bronx Zoo. Part of my job is to inspire young people to connect with nature, but it isn't always easy for people in New York City to see that connection. It can sometimes feel like nature is a faraway place that we can't access. In reality, though, we rely on nature for things we need every single day. The entire world is connected in ways that we don't always notice. And that connection can be wonderful. It allows us to travel more easily, send food and clothing around the globe, but it can also cause problems. As humans expand our reach, we encroach on natural places, disrupting habitats and creating opportunities for diseases to spread. In order to take care of our own health, we have to take care of the health of animals, plants, and ecosystems. Let's hear more about how the health of everything is interconnected.
Around 55% of the world's population now lives in urban areas or cities. And that percentage is increasing every year. And it's easy to forget or not really realize how interconnected our well-being still is with nature.
But those cities are then interconnected with the rest of the world within hours. So a rat from northern Congo, which I caught and sold on the side of the road, can be in Paris by next morning. And so this is obviously a world which has completely changed in the last 2 to 3 decades.
Wild animals have different pathogens as virus, bacteria, parasites in their bodies. It's part of the nature. But activities as wildlife trade, including the legal and illegal actions, also the deforestation or urbanization, are bringing people closer to animals.
If we don't truly understand how we interact with wildlife and ecosystems and affect the impact and health of wild and domestic animals and ourselves, we can't make informed, evidence-driven changes, both at a personal and at government levels, to do better and to improve our management and custodianship of the planet, which is essential to protect global health, the health of our environment and of humans and animals in the long term. So from a conservation and One Health perspective, encroachment is the destruction of natural wild habitat by humans as we continue development and expansion of our footprint on the planet.
The way I always see encroachment is like a little Pac-Man, which is going up and eating away the edges of forests, destroying rivers, extractive industries, simple things like roads.
It's a leading cause of species endangerment. Expanding urban, suburban areas and development have brought wildlife and humans into conflict in many places.
So the main problem with encroachment is that it increases the contact between humans or their livestock with wildlife, and it provides opportunities for viruses or bacteria or similar to spill over, so to say, to switch species. Spillover event, or also often called a zoonotic disease or a zoonosis, is a spillover of a pathogen, that means an agent and can potentially cause disease, from an animal towards a human, but also from humans towards an animal.
Just one spillover event, even though it's a super rare event, can have just dramatic implications and devastating impacts locally and globally.
And then it further exacerbated, as we saw with COVID-19. As soon as it spills over into our interconnected world, it can travel anywhere in a matter of hours to days.
One of the highest risk interfaces for spillover is what we consider newly created forest edges in biodiverse areas.
If you come into contact with wildlife on those edges, that's when the spillover events can happen. Alternatively, you can grab all those animals in the forest and carry them to a marketplace, for example, where you create an artificial interface.
The other really super high-risk interface that we work at a lot is the commercial trade in wild animals, which has been shown as a driver in the emergence of multiple diseases.
Wildlife trafficking, it's a crime. They are involving the illegal extraction and trade of live animals and plants, or parts and products came from them. As a crime, it treats the biodiversity, public health, the economy, and food security of many rural and indigenous communities. it's not easy to try to explain because there are a local demand, an international demand, different motivations.
The commercial trade in wild animals brings together many species that would not naturally be in contact with each other, and it often involves poor conditions that stress the animals, and stressed animals have been shown to increase shedding of pathogens.
Zoonotic diseases are infectious diseases that are naturally transmitted from vertebrate animals to humans and vice versa. Ebola or COVID or SARS or MERS, these are the ones that do impact people.
So in a One Health context, when you start looking at these impacts and how they're all interconnected, the really shocking thing is it just amplifies, all these processes amplify the inequalities.
One Health is an initiative or an approach that just recognizes the interconnection between people, animals, plants, and our shared environment, and that our health is inextricably linked. There are so many small ways in which we can help to create a healthier planet, from avoiding single-use plastics, a more plant-based diet, because we know that livestock and livestock food raising is causing a lot of the increase in deforestation and land use change, as well as methane production. Beyond us, governments really need to step up and create stronger legislation and global mechanisms to help in all of these areas, to strengthen protections for our natural resources and intact ecosystems that remain on our planet, to mitigate climate change and move towards greener energy production, strengthening indigenous rights, because they have demonstrated over and over they're much better at sustainable land management, and ending commercial trade in wild animals.
We have different approach. One of them is with the governments to try to develop different capacities, law enforcement, among others. But other hotspot that we are working is the citizens, the population. Because when you ask about the drivers, it's the humans, the people.
We need to have a kind of a global conversation on how we address this and bring, these communities that are subsisting on these protein sources the best information and the best resources so that we all can be living on a safer planet.
I think that it's important to recognize that we are not alone. We are sharing this world with different wild species. We must be responsible of our actions because everything is connected.
There are billions of us. We are the dominant vertebrate animal on the planet right now. And it's hard to kind of step anywhere without squishing anything, but we kind of need to be aware of where our contact points are with wildlife and to minimize our impacts on them as much as possible.